guys, my name is Tirsa and I talk a lot. Today I'm going to be discussing 7 mental health myths. They're kind of myths and kind of stuff that you shouldn't tell people with a mental illness or specifically with a depression. And I can understand if you think some of these things, but I just know from experience that it doesn't help if people tell you these things. That's why this is my Mythbuster episode, to bust them myths. I can only speak for me and what I experienced, and I know parts of what other people experience, but of course I can't represent everybody with a depression. Mental health myth number 1. I actually forgot it. Mental health myth number 1. You can just try to be happier. Really? Really? If I could, I would. A lot of people think, why don't you try socializing, or why don't you just try to be more positive? That's the point of a depression. A lot of people feel lethargic, so they don't enjoy things that they used to enjoy. So another big thing about depression is a lack of motivation. So even if you know that socializing or being with your friends would help you, the motivation is really, really hard to find. So this kind of advice doesn't really work because it's just telling people who are depressed things that they already know and that they already feel bad about. Myth number 2. This one is a really harmful one, and it's depression is a sign of weakness. And that is definitely not true. Please trust me, it's not true. You are not weak if you suffer from a mental illness. Mental illnesses are illnesses, and they can happen to anybody. The way I was taught about depression by mental health professionals is that it's a combination of nature and nurture with many other psychological things. It's you have a certain chemical predisposition to have this disease, and then if you add stress factors to that, that could potentially end up with a depression. Also, what my psychiatrist told me, sometimes a depression just falls from the sky. It's just there and you don't really know why, and that's okay too. It happens, it sucks, but it doesn't have to mean that you are weak or that you have a weak personality. Myth number 3. People with a depression are just lazy. A lot of people with depression struggle with their sleep. Some people, like me, might experience hypersomnia, which means that you can sleep all day, all night, always, and still be so tired. Or you could struggle, like many people, with insomnia, which means that you just stay up all night sometimes and you can't sleep. Both of these things may result in people being extremely tired throughout the day, no matter how much or how little they do. Add to that the lack of motivation that a lot of people with depression struggle with, and it's being made really, really difficult for them to function normally. And so you might think that's lazy, but it's not. And telling them that they're lazy definitely isn't gonna help anybody. Myth number 4. Oh, actually this is not 3. Myth number 4. You shouldn't be sad because worse things are happening to other people. It's not that people with a depression are sad because they really, really want to be. It's just something that happens to them, and a lot of people already feel guilty because they feel like they don't deserve to be sad or they don't deserve to be happy. You wouldn't tell somebody that they can't be happy just because somebody else may be happier, and therefore it also doesn't make sense to tell somebody that they can't be sad just because somebody else has the right to be sadder. Myth number 6. You shouldn't take antidepressants. Now, this one comes with a lot of controversy because I think there's a lot of misconceptions about antidepressants. Yes, I take antidepressants and they work great for me. But I know that there's a lot of people who they take antidepressants and it doesn't work. But that doesn't necessarily mean that antidepressants are wrong in themselves. It just, different stuff works for different people. And of course, you need to go to see a psychiatrist who's a doctor and talk to them about it, and they have to prescribe you the medication, and they will go with you through the process of finding the right medication, handling your way with possible side effects. It's basically just, trying to figure out the costs and the benefit. The fear of antidepressants comes with a bunch of sub-myths that I thought of. One of them is that antidepressants are addictive. Let me tell you, they're not. They're not. Antidepressants are not addictive. Full stop. Yes, they're drugs, so you can't just decide from one day to the next that you stop taking them you will experience withdrawal symptoms, but that doesn't mean that the drug itself is addictive. Another argument that people use against antidepressants is that it messes with your brain chemistry. So does your Coke. So does your coffee. A lot of things do. Depression messes with your brain chemistry. So for me, it made a lot of sense to use something to make my brain chemistry a bit more balanced and a bit more easy to live with. The last myth about antidepressants is that they will make you a different person. Well, personally, I don't think so at all. In a way, yes, I'm not the same person that I was before my depression and during my depression, but I just see that as a process of growth, and I just try to look closely at how I've changed and what things I would like to carry forward in my life and which things are maybe just, left better in the past. I don't think it necessarily changes you as a person, because it just changes my mood and it allows me to do the things that I enjoy doing again rather than when I was depressed. Another thing that I've heard about antidepressants is that they basically limit your moods. So some people were describing to me that they, during their depression, experience a lot of mood swings from feeling really bad to feeling really good and then really bad again. And somebody described that when they took their antidepressants, it was just limited into this tunnel where they either feel kind of good or kind of bad, or, they were fed up with the fact that even though they didn't experience very strong sadness anymore, they also didn't experience very strong joy anymore. And personally, I don't have any experience with anything like that. I actually can't imagine that it can be very, very frustrating to not experience anything strongly anymore. It's not the same for everybody, and just because I have a certain experience and somebody else doesn't have their experience doesn't mean at all that it's going to happen to you. Myth number 7. Depression isn't a real illness. Yes, it is. Myth number... that's it. No, what do you want me to say? Yes, it is? I mean, Google it. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Duh. Bacteria don't exist because you can't see them with your naked eyes. Actually, that makes no sense. That's not the same at all. Well, close enough. And my last myth... I can't count. Myth number 8. People who have a depression are always sad. The description for the symptoms of depression, one of them is literally that you feel bad and sad, etc., and hopeless and empty most of the day for at least 2 weeks. So just because you saw me have a really good time doesn't mean I can't have a depression at the same time. On the other hand, a lot of people with depression also fake it, just because it makes it easier to get around the day without people asking all the time why you're so sad. And that makes total sense too. You can't know what's going on inside of their head. Those were my 10-ish mental health myths. Thank you a lot for watching this video. It was my first video, by the way. I think it's really important to have a conversation about mental health and mental illness, and I want to do my share in trying to eradicate the stigma that is there in society. And I think a large part of the stigma is there because people don't really know what mental illness is. If you do have any questions or any recommendations, things that I missed out on, things that I didn't say completely accurately, if you have any suggestions for future videos on the topic of mental health or on any topic really, please leave it in the comment section below, because I'd love to know what you think. If you like the video, like it, that would be really cool so I know. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of this. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye!